Mr. E.A Wijesooriya was one of the most distinguished principals of Mahinda College, who served as a principal for 30 long years, from 1932 to 1962. By the time he left his position, Mahinda College had established itself as one of the leading schools in the country.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Vice Principal of Mahinda College, Mr. Lanka Railways. Our distinguished old Mahindian and guest speaker today, Mr. E.A Wijesooriya, Consultant Engineer. Patrons of OBA Colombo branch, they have not come today. Professor A.T.R. and Mr. Chandra Vikram Singh, members of the head table, Mr. E.A Wijesooriya's granddaughter, Ms. Nilomi Fernando, past principals and teachers of Mahinda College, present teachers and students of Mahinda College, distinguished members of Mahinda Club, Honorable Secretary of Mahinda College OBA, Mr. Kamal Nishanta, President of Cricket Foundation, Mr. Kumar Samar Singh, dear Mahindians, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Mahinda College OBA Colombo branch, I warmly welcome all of you for the 19th E.A Wijesooriya Memorial Oration this evening. Thank you very much for your presence here in spite of your busy schedules. Nowadays, I don't think our younger generations have heard about Mr. E.A Wijesooriya very much. So we are the only OBA, All Boys Association, who organized Mr. E.A Wijesooriya's Memorial Oration annually. Therefore, let me to talk about Mr. E.A Wijesooriya in briefly. Mr. E.A Wijesooriya is a student of Mahinda College, Galle. He got a Buddhist scholarship and went to Ananda College, Colombo. Then he graduated at the University of Cambridge in London. After the graduation, he joined the staff of Ananda College. Then he was appointed as the principal of Dharmasova College at Tambalangada. In 1932, he was appointed as the principal of Mahinda College, Galle. He served Mahinda till 1962 until his early retirement. During his service at Mahinda, he was a great teacher and an excellent administrator. Our past president, late Mr. Laldi Alvis, when he was appointed as the president of OBA Colombo, he started this E.A Wijesooriya Memorial Oration because he knew the value of this great guru. Now this oration is very popular among our Mahindians and it has become a very important event in our annual agenda. So I take this opportunity to appreciate our distinguished old Mahindian and the guests and the speaker today, Consultant Engineer Mr. E.A Wijesooriya, for accepting our invitation and being here to deliver the 19th E.A Wijesooriya Memorial Oration this evening. We greatly appreciate Mr. E.A Wijesooriya's granddaughter, Mrs. Nilomi Fernando, for taking part in this event today. I think we should not forget Nilomi's mother, late Mr. Savitri De Silva. She took part in all our E.A Wijesooriya orations in the past with greatest difficulties. We also appreciate Vice Principal of Mahinda College, Mr. Manjula Veerasinghe, teaching staff and students of Mahinda College, prefects, for their presence here this evening all the way from Galle. I must thank the organizing committee, Mr. C.W. Jayasekara, Mr. Jitendra Jayatilaka, for making this event a great success and sponsoring the event by Mr. C.W. Jayasekara, who was a student of Mr. E.A Wijesooriya in the last group. Finally, let me to thank again for your presence here for the 19th E.A Wijesooriya Memorial Oration this evening. Thank you very much. Next item in the agenda to address the gathering by Vice Principal of Mahinda College, Mr. Manjula Veerasinghe.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Punya De Silva, the President of Mahinda College, OBA Colombo, the invited orator, Engineer P.P. Wijesooriya, and distinguished invitees, Mahinda College Assistant Principal Ravindra Mahilal and the Board of Prefects. Today, as the Deputy Principal of Mahinda College, first of all, I wish to extend our gratitude and sincere thanks to you all on behalf of Mahinda College Principal and the Mahinda community. Moreover, we believe occasion like this very important to keep us all in contact. And I think this is a good opportunity to witness this kind of occasion to the Board of Prefects too. Then, wishing you every success, I conclude my speech. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Vice Principal, Mr. Manjula Veerasinghe. Actually, today our principal is unable to come. He informed me, but we have organized this Vice Principal and the Deputy Principal and some students from the school. So I must thank Principal Mr. Atula Vichivardhana at this moment. Next item in the agenda, introduction of our guest speaker. I would like to invite our Honorary Secretary, Mr. K.L.S. Sahavantu, to introduce to the House.
Engineer P.P. Wijesooriya studied at Mahinda College from 1966 to 1974 and entered the University of Peradeniya in 1974. He was awarded BSc Engineering Mechanical Engineering from the University of Peradeniya in 1978. He was also awarded MSc in Computer Science from the University of Colombo. He is a Chartered Engineer and Honorary Life Fellow of the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka. He is also a member of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport of United Kingdom. He joined Lanka Railways in 1980 and worked in different capacities such as Chief Mechanical Engineer and finally retired as the General Manager of Sri Lanka Railways in 2010. After his retirement, he worked in the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing as the Project Director, Transport Development Project Western Region LRT for 2 years. On professional service, Mr. Wijesooriya served as a Vice President of the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka. During his tenure in Sri Lanka Railways, he played leading role to convert normal buses to rail buses for Sri Lanka Railways. He is the author of the book Samvardhana Adala Karana Bhutya Dumriya Gilagani. Presently, he works as a proprietor of Microtech Electronics, making substitutes for imported electronic spare parts for the domestic industry. With that brief introduction, I would like to invite Mr. Engineer Wijesooriya to deliver his presentation.
Before start to deliver the oration, so we have to, according to the agenda, we have to award the oration medal to our guest speaker today, Mr. E.A Wijesooriya.
Okay, thank you. The topic is revitalization of Sri Lanka Railways to face the present day challenges. So let me introduce what this means. Present day challenges. The challenges are changing every day with the changes in the socio-economic situation, with the increasing population, with the changing needs and mindset of the people, and due to many other factors such as accidents, Jemar may be knowing this very well, climatic changes, natural disasters, economic crisis, political reasons, and so on. The challenges are changing. So any organization has to face such ever-changing challenges dynamically and adjust or reform themselves to face this situation, or otherwise they will fail in their endeavor. Such failed organization become a sort of stumbling block to the development of the country. And finally, a few such failed organizations together push the country to the failed status. Am I audible? Henry? Okay. Now better. Right. This is what happening around us today. So when analyzing the current situation in Sri Lanka, I do not want to touch upon the widely spoken part, the corrupt politicians and so on. Instead, I would like to understand the root cause and discuss it with some professionalism. Next slide, please. I want to touch these things during this short presentation. Introduction, Sri Lanka Railway at a glance, Sri Lanka Railway assets base, historical reforms, what has happened. Now we said we need to change according to the challenges. So there had been certain changes, so we are discussing that. Then according to the current situation, possible immediate reforms. And finally the conclusion. We go to the next slide. Next one. Yeah, next step. I'll give it. No, before. The today's truth is that we have not done timely reforms to our systems. The professionals also are responsible for this. Though we normally blame the politicians, the provisions also are responsible for this crime, not to readjust our systems to the current need. So not only the railways, but also there are many such organizations which need timely reforms to face present day challenges. However, my talk focused on Sri Lanka Railways because that's the subject best known to me. So we need a leadership, set of rules and regulations, and work-friendly environment. This is very important, work-friendly environment to address and offer quick solutions to the upcoming challenges dynamically. For this, the age-old static thinking and bureaucratic framework to be revitalized before revitalizing the institutions. One might ask whether the professionals alone can turn around these institutions without the political support. What is the answer? I would say no and yes, because getting the political support is also a part of professionalism. One might also ask, are you talking sense? Can you practically implement your ideologies in this country? So I will answer this question at the end of this presentation. In this backdrop, we are discussing today a very important and timely topic. Thank you, E.A Mahinda College, Colombo branch, for honoring me as your orator on this very vital topic at this very respectable occasion of commemorating the great principal of Mahinda, Mr. E.A Wijesooriya. Whilst paying my heartfelt respect to the late principal, Mr. Wijesooriya, I also need to pay my sincere respect to the principal during my time, Mr. J.H. Gunasekara, and those great teachers who paved my way forward. Let me name a few from hundreds. There's no time to mention all those names. I would mention with great respect Mr. D.P. Paranaheva, late Mr. Paranaheva, Mr. S. Perimpanayagan, our pure mathematics teacher, Mr. C.K. Vaidyaratna, one of the best chemistry teachers in the country, Mr. Nisanka De Silva, Mr. P.S.K. Rajapaksha, Mrs. Sevagama, and Mrs. Sumatiratna. So, we'll straight away go to the next slide, please. Go to the, okay, Sri Lanka Railways. We straight away jump to the subject. The Sri Lanka Railways now age 158 years and operating on approximately 1,500 kilometers of track, connecting many important cities of the country. The network is shown in this map. I think it's very familiar, no need of explanation to you. You all have patronized the railway more than usual. So I will skip that track explanation. The railway network was created connecting all 9 provinces of the country. That's a very big study behind this network. It is connecting all the 9 provinces of the country to the capital city, Colombo. Further, it was connected to almost all the districts of the country excepting Ampara, Monragala and Hambantota. Perhaps maybe they were not very developed area those days. So we can call it a well-connected island-wide rail network. Though some changes were affected after. Next slide, please. Nevertheless, this network of tracks is the biggest and most important asset of SLR, Sri Lanka Railway. This is being the biggest and important main asset. In addition, the rail tracks, the SLR own wealth of other assets, which are also subject to various changes during the past 158 years. And they can be broadly listed as physical assets, such as rail stations, signaling and telecommunication system, trains of the rolling stock, as is used in the railway, which comprise locomotives, coaches, freight wagons, freight carriers, and DMUs, diesel multiple units, popularly known as power sets. Maintenance facilities such as workshops and machinery need for maintenance. Spare parts and raw material, lands, railway is one of the biggest landowners in this country, warehouses, other buildings and so on. So this is the asset base, starting from the tax. However, its asset of human resource is the most important. I must emphasize that. The most important asset out of all is its human resource. And again, the most important asset is the customer base, which is not much spoken about. Any business organization, the biggest asset should be the customer base. Next slide, please. Financial assets. Correct. So normally there is a subject called financial asset. Also, there's a heading called financial asset. But SLR is running at a loss. So there is no financial asset to discuss. Anyway, this subject is very important too because of two reasons. Number one, it is the key for any revitalization towards sustainability. So if you don't have financial assets, and if you are always borrowing money or getting government money and investing, you are not sustainable. So when you are talking of a revitalization project targeting sustainability of the railway system, the financial assets are very important, or at least the discussion on financial assets. Today's biggest challenge is government difficulty to finance the railway. So now our main topic is the challenges, how to face the present day challenges. So what is the biggest challenge today? The government's difficulty to finance the railway. So we have to find way out of this situation. The following graph tells the situation. Yes, this is not my data. This is all taken, anybody can download it from the internet. Central Bank annual reports year by year. The railway operating loss is tabulated. So this is such a table. So you see the 10 billion line, annual losses are reaching 10 billion range. So it is a huge burden on the treasury. Although SLR subjected to various reforms during its lifespan, many of those, especially those during the recent past, were not attached with proper business plan. This is the main point. Hence, those expenditures added on to cost, but not as sensible investments. This is a serious situation. As there is no accountability, no responsible payback, no reasonable payback for the billions of rupees spent on various railway modernization projects. General Treasury provides the funds. Almost always they match a foreign loan for this. They also don't have such a big amount of money. That's right. Unfortunately, or fortunately in the point of view of the railway people, the loan payback is totally handled by the treasury, irrespective of the return on that investment. There is no mechanism in place to reconcile the cost and the benefits. The popular excuse from the railway side is that the railway is a service-oriented organization, and also it brings a lot of indirect and economic benefits to the country, and therefore part of its cost should be borne by the general public. That's the excuse given by the railway. General public means the treasury. Although there is some truth in this statement, but not totally correct. Further, this argument should not be used to cover up the inefficiencies of the railway system or cover up the erroneous management decisions taken in the past or even present. So the railway should be accountable for what they are expending. Furthermore, the railway cannot put into the category of health and education. Now, normally they say health and education should be free. The transport should be free. Then you have to have everything free. So then the country is not sustaining that way. So this can't be put into the railway, or the transport industry can't be put into the category of health and education, where the treasury should pump money and it is not, the institutions are not generating funds. So for that there are two arguments. One is the railway has huge potential for revenue generation. There's no need of asking funds from treasury, though many of those are untapped or neglected. Number two, railway is not directly, next slide, next slide, next one. No, before. Railway has huge potential for revenue generation, and always railway is not directly accessible to majority of the country. As already pointed out, some districts are not even not having even a trace of railways. Even the most developed western province, most of the area are 20 kilometers or more away from the rail tracks. Hence, majority of the population are not privileged to easy access to the railway. Even though its fares are subsidized, some people can't access the railway service. On the other hand, the demand for value-added services, the GMR very well knows this, is far too high, and majority can't enjoy that high cost services either due to capacity constraints. They can't supply that demand. So in brief, what I'm telling is, the benefits of the railway services are not equally accessible to the citizens. So this situation is quite different to the case of health and education, and the question is whether the treasury should fund such service. So is it reasonable, that's what I said, is it reasonable to tax the total population to maintain this, bad word I have to tell, this loss-making monster? As pointed out with the previous graph, after having made annual losses of the magnitude of 10 billion, can we still ask more treasury funds to improve the railway? Or are we to find other ways? Or should we conclude that it is impossible to run a better railway than this? Can we conclude like this? So we will go to the historical reports next time. Okay. Now, as I said, the railway is 158 years old, and there were reforms in the past as well, though most of them are not according to a business plan, I would say. At the inception, the railway were established by British to make profits or cut down the inland transportation cost of basically the plantation sector. There were no good highway network and trucks and bowsers in plenty. This situation gave the railway a monopoly in the inland freight transportation business. Passenger demand was for train travel was not high and limited to high income groups, government officials, occasional travelers like pilgrims. The main fuel used was inexpensive coal. Furthermore, this train fleet was simple and maintainable at low cost. Very simple technology those days. Consequently, it made huge profits during the first 100 years or so. Gradually, the road network in the country improved, and the numbers of road vehicles multiplied year by year in large numbers. The Colombo-centered economy, business and administrative activities started growing up. Thus started shifting of the freight transportation business to the road transporters such as trucks and buses, and meantime the passenger transport demand was gradually increased. Today, several hundred thousands of passengers are traveling to Colombo in the morning and going out in the evening. Same thing happening in other main cities, but to a lesser scale. The freight transporters were very rich companies those days. Tea, rubber, coconut exporters, and their paying capacity was high. Whereas the increased passenger demand afterward was due to day-to-day travelers such as shop and office workers, and majority of them belongs to the low or middle income groups. The freight transportation is the lucrative part of any railway. Any railway in the world, the most lucrative business is the freight transport. You can see very simple way you can understand it. 40-ton freight wagon can earn more income than an equal size general passenger coach. You can just work out how many seats in a passenger coach and what the ticket fare, and you can easily find out this. Further, the capital and maintenance cost of a passenger coach is more than double of that of a freight wagon. Freight wagon is a very simple structure compared to a passenger coach. Passenger coaches has a lot of complications and lighting systems, toilets, various things. So its capital cost and maintenance cost both more than 2 times of a wagon. So what happened? The SLR was not readily adjust to this changing environment from freight transportation to passenger. It was very poor in retaining its customer base. The customer care was at the beginning was poor. The passenger trains were increased as a political requirement and social need. The passenger trains were increased using the subsidies given by the government. As the railway were made to a government department, its sense of business and customer care was further deteriorated. The organization and employees were secured even when it making losses of several billions. So, as a department, the people are safe. Whether you make a profit or make a loss, the people are secured. Then the government department, as a tradition, auditors interfered with techno-business decisions. So that was an issue to at least the little proactive people left there. So this is the slogan: no work, no problem; more work, more problem. This concept crept into the minds of staff. So instead of being proactive, for develop a country, we need a proactive set of people, staff. So instead of being proactive, most of them selected the safe path. No work, no problem. It is not possible to explain this in length here. So I would invite you to read my book, Sangwardhane Adala Karana Bhutaya Dumriya Gila Ganima. Next slide. So that this book explains the total deterioration of the railway. දුම්රිය කියලා ගැනීම දක්වා. Anyway, once lucrative railway has now become a burden on the economy of the state. Let's stop the post-mortem part here. To go back to the main topic. Next slide, please. Considering all what discussed so far, my conclusions are: A, railway should be revitalized to an economic giant which can support the national economy instead of being a burden. I'm now talking about the plans. What sort of plans that we should encourage? The revitalization plans or proposals that finally needs a capital injection by way of foreign loan should not support it, and they are, if they are not supported by a sensible payback plan, should be discarded. The revitalization plans that are based on self-reliance, maximizing the in-house contributions and collaborations with domestic industry and investments should be supported. This reform should be immediately commenced with a 5-year horizon and gradually reach the goal. Goal is the number A. We said, what is the goal? Railway should be a revitalized to an economic giant. After this conclusion, I need once again go back to what I told at the beginning. That is, one might ask, are you talking sense? Can you practically implement your ideologies in this country? You might also ask this question. Perhaps you in the audience might ask this, though silently. My answer is yes. Now I am going to boast a little bit, not as a personal, not to get any personal gain, but to show you that it is a possible thing. It's not impossible. I implemented a revitalization program in Sri Lanka Railways on similar basis when I was the general manager in 2010 and achieved positive results. I reduced the annual operating loss of railway by 33.45% within a year. The graph based on as I already told you, none of these statistics are not mine. They are from the central bank annual reports. This graph I already shown you, but I have a little bit of highlights there. You can go to the next slide. This is a slide I already showed you, but with this trend graph line, you see from 2009 to 2010 is the period I am talking about. In 2010, the annual losses were reduced with respect to 2009 by 33.45% within 1 year. But such a drop has not seen in the past or after that. The 5-year plan I am implemented in 2005 was almost similar to what I am proposing today. It's the same thing. I don't have any new things gathered during that period. I have to tell you what I did in 2010. I was highly dependent on self-reliance. You may not agree with me that I am not presently presenting an now you may agree with me. I am not presenting an ideology. I have done it and telling you the results. and presenting a sensible way out of from this crisis situation by implementing the same strategies that were tested and proven in 2010 when I was the GM. My 2010 plan also had 5-year horizons to realize the railway to the state of an economic giant which could support the national economy instead of being a burden. But I have no answers to 2 questions. It's a controversial thing. I have no answer to this. Why I was removed from the GMR post prematurely after that happening. Why the subsequent planning and development efforts went on a different track, disregarding my proven approach. My approach is self-reliance. We'll go to the next slide. Anyway, so that is the history. Even today, I think relating the history won't be any benefit to the GMR or present day's requirement. So I would like to come out with few things to increase the revenue and decrease the cost. So let's discuss the next slide. What is the time? I'm taking more time. Okay. These are few proposals to increase the railway revenue. So this is one of the, I think, very, very important area, the freight transportation. Double the freight transportation. This is the way of, increasing the revenue. The most important part is no need of new trains for this. Good servicing to existing trains and improving the turnaround time. This suffice. This turnaround time. This is the trump card I used in 2010. When a wagon with load went to Trincomalee, it takes that time 5 days to come back. The various in between, the priority given to passenger trains and unloading time, loading time and all that. Once you send a wagon out, for the next shipment out, that wagon is not available till 5 days. So improving the turnaround means I will get down that wagon in 2 days. So this is equivalent to double the wagon fleet. You don't want to buy wagons. This simple arithmetic. Then, if the wagons are breaking down on the way, everything went upset. So these things should be properly serviced. Those are not very high tech. These are very simple. You have to oil and grease and tighten the bolts and weld in somewhere, and that type of repairs. So do the maintenance and improve the turnaround. You can get the double work from the existing fleet. So this is the results we achieved in 2010. Railway freight transportation in ton kilometers. We are not talking in rupees and cents terms because the value of the rupee is changing. Our fares charging for ton is changing. So all that is left aside. This graph is in ton kilometer millions. So this is absolute position indicator, how the progress indicator. So you see that again from 2009 to 2010 the jump was 44.25 increase within 1 year. But thereafter, I think Asela should be interesting to know this. When this happened in 2010, we didn't have the track beyond Omatte. We didn't have the track from Madavachya to Mana. we didn't have Beliatta extension. So I don't know what percentage. It may be about 15% of the total today's network was not there at that time. 15 to 20. That got out. Then we didn't have M10, M11, S11, S12, S13, S14. All those modern new locomotives, power sets, we didn't have. We didn't have this new oil tanks and new container flats. So it's with limited facilities we did it. We never buy any equipment to handle this freight cargo. So I think it's a very, very important thing to study how this was done. But unfortunately, subsequently, I think around 2015, the international bank supported expert teams and come and they are studying how to improve rail. So I am pointing out why they didn't study this. They should study this, how this has happened. Finally, a lot of money is spent. The study report is there, I think. At least nothing has happened on the ground. So anyway, I rush to the other items, increase the revenue, introduce new value-added services, passengers and group of passengers, and give sufficient publicity. I think this is happening to some extent now. Thank you, GMR and others in the GM Railway. Do away with traditional fare policy, and you have to very quickly do this. If the airlines doing this, why can't the railway? When the demand is there, you have to raise the price. Otherwise, people are even after providing the service, the people blaming the railway because they can't buy the tickets because of the demand. So when the demand is high, raise the price. පාංගලට දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් මේකට බැරි. So it should happen. Otherwise, the railways they making losses. So you should have a dynamic fare policy with the hands of GMR. Now sometimes some fares are governed by acts. I think the parliamentary acts should be. Then it can never be a business organization. Invest on railway lands and reservations. This also happening to some extent. Review current rents and lease agreements. Sell all scrap. This is very important. Railway has a lot of scraps. The scrap should be sold at the time of generating that scrap. Say today I condemn something, it has a high value than the scrap iron, but when it rotten in dump yards, years and years, and then you start it, then only you get the steel value. A kilo is so much or so. But railway spares are very, very valuable spare parts. There are motors, there are transformers, there are various items, even nuts and bolts among those. So if you can sort it, by sorting itself, you can give a few fold value addition to the scrap. So there are, you can generate a lot of income from selling the scrap. Commercialize all railway restrooms, bungalows, warehouses. This also may be happen. Can you go to the next slide? Then again, the stations should be developed as revenue centers and thereby create competitive environment between stations. Develop the railway stations as customer care centers. The customer should love to enter the stations, and they should be developed as interface between the customer and the department. Not only providing service, you can get the feedback also through the stations. There can be various business idea coming through the stations, coming back to the railway. Handle the bulk of group transporters as prime set of customers, and you should have separate officer to handle them, give special care. Like all these things are happening in the aviation airline industries. So just if a group of say 50 people, 100 people is going on, say they hire a railway compartment also, you should provide an attendant also, so for them to take care of them and find out their difficulties. It's a value addition of the service. After establishing each business items and after ensuring the sustainability, this is a very important thing. After each business item, you can discuss and match the resources and establish a business item. Say for instance, one train from here Colombo to Goa, a new train. So while introducing this, upfront you should have a maintenance plan of that, replacement plan of that, an emergency plan of that. If something happened to that, what is the replacement? So all that should be ready along with the introduction of new services. And if so, then without any fear you can then advertise it. Now a little bit reluctant to advertise now because you don't know whether you can run it tomorrow. Creative ideas are generally generated in the minds of the people. So they may be employees, passengers, customers or general public. So make a mechanism to collect such idea and analyze them and keep them in record. You may not be able to implement them overnight, but it's very important to have a record of them. Then reduce the expenditure. Locally produce or repair railway spare parts. Large amount of foreign exchange is going out of the country for the railway spare parts. So there are a lot of things which can repair here. This has indirect benefit of developing the domestic industry as well and reducing the foreign exchange outflow. When replacing the parts, always try to rehabilitate the used part, but without compromising the quality. So that's why the engineers are there. They have to have ways and means of building it to the original quality without compromising the quality. Use the high energy efficient push-pull type trains. Now there are a lot of push-pull type trains in the railway now. When you have a big locomotive in front, sometimes the engine is going to north, the last compartment is going to south in U curves. So this is a very inefficient way of utilizing the railway. There are a lot of bad effects on the track, bad effects on the wheels. Fuel efficiency is very low. But when you have push-pull, one is pulling, other one is pulling, there is a neutral point at the center, and it can very easily negotiate at a very low energy consumption. So luckily we are having the large fleet of that type of trains now. So you have to encourage that rather than getting these huge, what do you call, yakadeyaku. Next slide. If possible, cancel the less economical trains or train stops. Stopping a train is a cost because train is a huge inertia. You have to brake it and then accelerate it. So though the stop is limited to 1 minute, you are wasting 4-5 minutes for one stop. Then a lot of energy also. So if there are uneconomical stops, you have to stop it, but we are doing a social service as well. So there are obligatory services. So in that case, you can use the rail buses or something like that. And the long distance trains should not be stopped for the sake of few passengers in different it's overall advantage is less. Before import capital assets such as locomotives, coaches and freight wagons. Next slide there. Right. Explore the possibility of rehabilitating the old assets. This again I am telling not an ideology, it is something practically we did in 1990. So see the condition of the train in the yard, the upper picture. and after rehabilitating the same. The old one was M5769, it is rehabilitated as M5A769. That time the saving was, in 1990, saving was 100 million rupees. Today's maybe 400 million rupees or so, the advantage of this type of project. So not only we are getting a locomotive, the advantage is this rehabilitated locomotive, we don't need fresh training, fresh spare parts, everything is there. It's a known thing. If you get down a new locomotive, in place of that, the new set of spare parts, new stores, new training, new catalogs, and everything will be required. So this was a very good thing started in railway in this year. Thereafter, there are so many rehabilitation projects went on. I think we have rehabilitated more than 10-15 locomotives during that time. Use solar energy, so it's obvious, not need of describing. When ordering material or spare parts, use the generalized specification. So there are so many people in the world or in the country country also, and if not in the country, in the region or in the world, who can make those items, but they don't know because we are calling tenders, quoting the original manufacturer's part number. So then only there's a monopoly for the original manufacturer, and only a few, you don't get the sensible competition. Then finally, I am saying that the most important thing is, as India did, build a local industry for building railway infrastructure, facilities, and even manufacture or repair railway spare parts, and even the rolling stock like locomotives, coaches. There must be a railway industry in the country. There is a saying, the railway is the cheapest mode of transport, but our railway making losses. So the two contradicting things. Why this is happening? So the railway means not only the running of railway. Railway is the rail industry. The manufacturing railway, maintaining railway, running the railway, all that put together, it's a lucrative business. But if you import everything from, rich countries, developed countries, at their rates, and try to run a service here at a subsidized rate, then you can never make a profit in that way. You have to grab everything. It's not difficult. Creating a railway industry is not a difficult thing. So railway has to move into that. Conclusion. This is what I said. Railway is predominantly a very lucrative business, but to get that natural advantage, we need to have railway industry in our country. By importing majority of items and just run a service, we can't touch those lucrative corners. Further, the economy of the country cannot sustain such loss-making monster. Therefore, it is timely need to revitalize the railway using domestic resources as much as possible. Hope this note will help to start the journey towards profitable and people-friendly railway service in Sri Lanka. Making this dream a reality is the greatest tribute that we could pay to those who sacrificed their lifestyle for the betterment of the country, such as the late Principal Mr. E.A Wijesooriya. That's all. I thank organizers of Mahindra College OBA, the Vice Principal who is present here on behalf of the Principal, Mr. C.W. Jayasekara, Mr. Punya De Silva, and Mr. Sahabandhu for giving me the guidance and all making the facilities. I must also thank Mr. Sirikumar Gunasinghe, the incumbent general manager, and Mr. Asela Patiratna, the additional general manager who is present here. I'm very happy that in my audience the present railway general manager also in. So thank you all very much. As a tradition, there is no Q&A session in this memorial lecture. But can you go to the next slide, please? I have put my name, telephone number, and email. Please disturb me, or if you want any clarification at any time, you can note it down. I don't think the organization will allow you to question me here. Am I correct? I don't know. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wijesooriya. And you present a very important area of transportation in Sri Lanka, railway transportation, and with your vast experience in railway transportation, railway department, so you came up with very important challenges and how to improve, and what are the losses and how to improve the railway transportation in Sri Lanka. I think this is very important, and this is very useful all of us to travel in Sri Lanka, not only for us and even the foreigners. So this is a really good area. You pointed out all the details how to improve railway transportation in Sri Lanka. So I think the outcome of this lecture we can really understand. So it's easy to improve the railway transportation. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation and be here to deliver the 19th E.A Wijesooriya oration this evening. Thank you very much. Next item in the agenda is the vote of thanks. So we would like to invite our Joint Secretary, Mr. Kodita Ratnapri.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks in this distinguished forum. First of all, I wish to extend our gratitude and thanks to Engineer E.A Wijesooriya for giving us a more informative and well-structured speech, and you make our evening more fruitful. And we wish to thank Deputy Principal Mr. Manjula Veerasinghe, Assistant Principal Ravindra Mahilal, and the student of Mahinda College Galle. You came all the way from Galle to here, and your presence here always make us a strength. And we wish to thank Mr. Kamal Nishanta, Secretary OBA Mahinda College, and the officials from the OBA. And also we wish to thank members from the Mahinda Club. And most importantly, we wish to thank all the invitees and the participants. Without you, this event will not be successful. And last but not least, I wish to thank the organizers of the Mahinda College All Boy Association Colombo, Mr. C.W. Jayasekara, Mr. K.L.S. Sabandu, and Mr. Jitendra Jayatilaka. We know three of them did a lot of work. They have fought for last few months to deliver this event. And Have a pleasant evening and good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kodil Ramapia. We have come to the end of this oration today. So next item in the agenda, please stand up for the national anthem.